The way people think about marriage has changed a lot in my lifetime. I can remember a friend of my parents had a daughter who had to get married rather quickly. And my mum said to me in hushed tones, "She's expecting a baby." In 2021, most children will be born to parents who are not married. And there's no shame or disapproval expressed towards the parents. In fact, 90% of those who get married are already living together. And many of them will have lived together for several years before they have the ceremony and the celebration. The Church of England still teaches that marriage is between a man and a woman who commit to stay together in love for the whole of their lives, and that marriage was created for mutual affection, sexual union, and to take care of children. When the Church says that people in other relationships are falling short, many people nowadays disagree. It'd be hard to find anyone under 30 who considered it wrong for two people to live together, whatever their sex or their gender. What I was brought up to believe was right about sex and marriage is not what our children and I'm sure our grandchildren will think. And when I look at how my children express their love, it's hard for me to see what is so terrible about it or to believe that God is especially troubled by it. Of course, not all relationships are healthy or good, but that has less to do with marriage and its alternatives than simply with the way that people behave towards one another and how they treat each other in those close and intimate relationships. Marriage doesn't stop a man, or less often a woman, from abusing her partner. Weddings were, of course, very different in Jesus' time. The choice of partner was rarely in the hands of the couple. It was something that was arranged by their families, though I'm quite sure that parents loved their children, wanted to find the most suitable person for their son or daughter to spend their life with, wanted them to be happy. Nowadays, about a third of couples make their first contact online before they ever meet in real life. And for those who are a bit shy, it's probably a lot easier to make a comment on Instagram or a TikTok video than it is to approach a stranger in a strange place and ask them to dance. Everything should have been well planned for the wedding at Cana. The families had been preparing for it for a long time. The happy couple's parents will no doubt have been saving up little bits of money whenever they could and building up a store of food and drink and any other items that would be needed on the day. Something nearly always goes wrong on a wedding day, however carefully you plan, but running out of drinks for the guests was disastrous. There was no tea or coffee or anything else really to offer as an alternative. It would have been a humiliation to present glasses of water to their guests as they sat down. It was clearly an embarrassing problem for the families, but I wonder why Mary thought it was something that Jesus had to get involved in. Their conversation fascinates me. There seems to be so much that is unspoken, so much that's being said without being said under the surface. Mary merely said to Jesus, "They have no wine." It's a statement of fact, but Jesus heard in it his mother expecting him to do something, or otherwise why would she have said anything? And he replies in a way that sounds quite disrespectful. It's almost like a stroppy teenager as he says, "Woman, what concern is that to you and to me?" And it feels as though he's still trying to work out quite what he is and what's expected of him. He adds, "My hour has not yet come." Mary, being the good mother that she was, completely ignored what he said and gave an instruction to the servants. Do whatever he tells you. So, Jesus was put on the spot. He had to come up with something. And he did. And he went all out with his response. And everyone was very pleased with the result. With the minimum of fuss, Jesus made sure that there was more wine than they'd ever be able to drink, and that it was the finest wine that anyone had ever tasted. In summing up, John's Gospel merely says, Jesus did this, the first of his signs in Cana of Galilee, and revealed his glory, and his disciples believed in him. It's interesting to compare that with what John writes almost at the very end of the Gospel, when he says, Jesus did many other signs in the presence of his disciples which are not written in this book. But these are written so that you may come to believe that Jesus is the Messiah, the Son of God, and that through believing you may have life in his name. And what we learn from the first of these signs, from this miracle of turning water into wine, is confirmed by what we read about Jesus in all the Gospels. He cared about people. He cared about what enhances life and resisted everything that restricts it. He did whatever he could to help. He was always giving. And he stood firmly against those who wanted to put others down or to keep them in their place or to diminish the lives that they should have been able to enjoy. And because he stood against them, Jesus paid the price for living for the sake of the powerless and put upon. He paid the price of his own life. But crucified and risen, Jesus showed that the life that he had, that he wanted to share, he wanted to give, was better than anything else. As the steward said, "You have kept the good wine until now."